shining down on me. Life moves on and on, and I feel so all alone.
I live in the ghetto don't live in me.
Living day to day, rent is so high. Hope I can keep going on. Reaching out to a few, gotta pick and choose, 'cause so many ain't righteous.
I live in the ghetto don't live in me. I live in the ghetto don't live in me.
So many ways to go, and I feel so all alone. Life is full of struggle, so many depending on me.
Davey D hanging out with you. We are down here in front of the California Supreme Court. Disappointing news for many of the people who live here in the Bay Area with the upholding of Proposition 8. We have a sister out here. What's your name?
My name is Rashida.
How do you feel about what just took place with the decision?
I mean, I feel like it's more, it's legal to discriminate, basically. I feel like it's legal to discriminate. The upholding of Prop 8 was an abomination, I feel, but I am still happy that they upheld the 18,000 marriage certificates, which mine was one of those. But what about people that haven't found love yet? You know, I don't just say just because it was okay to be married. I know a lot of people that did get married and got annulled, but for people that actually are really serious about life and not a fly by night and want to actually start a family, create, build, buy houses, travel, do things that normal heterosexual people do, you know, what if they won't be able to do it now?
Why do you think there's been this resistance? I mean, what do you think is driving it? I mean, who you marry is, in my opinion, is like on you. You know, I mean, if you got a good one, that's great. If you got problems, oh well, you know, you got to deal with it. But why do you think some of the people who don't know a Rashida are out here with the signs and the type of vehemence that's saying that marriage needs to be only between a man and a woman? What do you think is at stake for them?
Nothing. They want to keep breeding hate. I believe that's what it is. It's just like back in the days when you had Ku Klux Klan against you had the whites against the black, straight, real segregation. And the white people that were breeding their little babies to come up to just hate people because they were black without knowing them, that's the same thing. They're just breeding more hate and instilling a negative vibe into our youth, you know, because it doesn't matter, like you say, it doesn't matter who you love. As long as you don't harm nobody, fine, because they don't want to get into, you know, all those sexual molesters and child pedophiles that still get married in prison. You know, all I want to do is be married and not harm anybody.
That's a good point. A lot of those people do get married in prison.
Yes, they do. And have conjugal visits and all those things. They still get their human rights, even though they're nasty people.
Can you speak on that? I heard you speak earlier and you were talking about human rights and that this was above and beyond civil rights.
Yes, it's above and beyond civil rights. Basically, when I was born and when my mother and my father decided to do what they did to have me, it was a human fetus. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't a cat, it wasn't a reptile. I should have been treated with all of my human rights that every human gets living and breathing here. You know, you can come to San Francisco and be homeless, but you can't come to San Francisco and love. And that's a huge problem for me.
You know, one of the challenges that took place during the Proposition 8 passing or the campaign was that there was disappointment in the African American community, our community, because we came out and voted the majority to be in favor of limiting marriage. And then you often hear conversations from people that say, well, you know, in Africa there weren't no gays, that's a white people thing. In Jamaica they seem to have a real problem, huge problem with gays. You know, from an African American perspective, how do you see this, and what do you say to the people in our community that bring forth these types of criticisms, and how do you, and just looking at some of the conservative and oftentimes racially tinged attitudes of some of the folks that were out here today that were totally against gay marriage, how do we juxtapose that? How does the Afrocentric person be in the same space as that other person that don't like blacks but don't like gays either?
That's where the hate comes in. You know, okay, how do I say it? Basically, if I don't like shoes, we all like flip-flops. No, wait, how do I want to say it? If we all like shoes and I got on flip-flops, today, the day that we decide to all wear flip-flops, it's going to be okay for me to get in with that crowd. But as soon as we get back to wearing shoes, the flip-flop person is out. So basically, that's how you get the people that really don't like African Americans, but hate gays even more. That's how you can get an African American and a white person standing right next to each other, because they have a deeper seated hate and they come together on it. See, hate is more stronger than love, you know, because as long as we hate something together, we're doing good. We can walk down the street, we can hold hands, and we can protest, and we can fight, and we can be all this because we hate together. So we got that strong bond, you know. But for me, being an African American, and about the 73% that was said to come out, it all really goes back down to religion, because I come from a very religious family, Church of God in Christ, a very hard denomination to be involved in, and it's basically the Lord said it, period, you know. So they kind of go with that. Our African American people, the ones that necessarily don't want to do the research or just don't want to understand it or turn the shy eye, they'll just go ahead with the Lord said and leave it at that. And I can understand those people, but it's still a naivete and it's still ignorance, you know what I'm saying, and, to me, because a person that doesn't want to get any knowledge for themselves and just go off of what somebody else said years and years ago, and you know, all that's been turned around because you got the King James version, who was a flaming homosexual, you know what I'm saying, you got all kind of stuff, but it's just all what you take out of something and what you bring out of yourself, you know. It's all self-preservation, doing for self, and that's really what it is. If everybody would mind their business, then it wouldn't even be this no way.
That's real talk. We appreciate it, Rashida. What's the next step for you?
Fighting, still fighting. Keep going forth, because we want to have, me and my wife want to have another child in November, or get pregnant in November, and I don't want to do a second parent adoption.
You know, with the campaign, the next step would be the campaign.
Right.
There was criticisms about how that campaign was run. You know, primarily not reaching out to African and brown communities. We never saw any of the progressive church leaders that actually did support gay marriage. How will the campaign be different this time, especially since they wasted $40 million?
Yeah, they wasted $40 million. Is really bad, because really their campaign, I want to just touch on that. They should have had a lot more family orientation instead of some straight man and straight woman who has a 40-year-old daughter who's a lesbian. That was all fine and dandy too, because it also preaches acceptance from parents. But you know, you have me, I'm 27, my wife's 29. We have a child. I know at least 15 to 20 different couples that have children too, so they should have focused more on that. Should focus more on it actually being a family and it actually being okay, and us going on camping trips, and you know, doing more family orientated stuff instead of just wasting the $40 billion or $1 million to just get acceptance from the straight people. It had more to do with that, you know. It has more to do with, you know, the people that are in my family that are 100% straight that support me too, you know. Even though I feel that when they go inside of their home, they have a love for me because I am a family member, but what they still feel, you know, God is what they still gonna go with, you know what I'm saying? So the campaign has to be way stronger this next time around, and it has to focus more on what's actually real, you know, real families out doing real things, you know, like out here, and they were like, oh, can we get contact and come meet with you and your son? Yes, you can do that. You can come interview inside of my home, our family, and you should find other couples that are doing that, and not necessarily even just families, just two people that have been together since whenever. You know, you got a lot of 30 and 40-year-old people, 30-year-old couples, or been together 30 years is what I'm trying to say. But try to find the younger generation too, because a lot of, in the African American community, between the ages of 18 and maybe 30, they're not voting, you know, just period. They're just not voting at all. They're not registered. They're not doing any of that. So try to find more of the young community, which actually is running America right now. The younger generation, the Generation X, my generation, we're all pretty much 30 now, you know, and we need to get them in and actually get them in the books. But then you got a lot of convicted felons.
One of the things that people talked about is that there's a stereotype that people have of gays, or gays and lesbians, a flamboyant type of demeanor, you know, which they always show the stock footage, you know, the people with the costumes and all that. And they say the repeated showing of that and the repeated demonstration of that or expression of that does harm to the cause, does it?
I believe it does, because it's just showing one side and one-sided only. Period. Like, you know, I'm not out here with, you know, I mean, yes, I might have the appearance of a man. I dress with collar shirts and baggy clothes.
You got your stunner shades on, so you're keeping it hyphy.
It's a little warm today. You know, I want to keep the rays out. But basically, the stock footage that they do show, I mean, I love that. It's fun, but that's not who I am. So I feel it's a misrepresentation of the gay community, period, because everybody that's gay doesn't do just that. We don't all dress up in nice high heels, and we don't wear this and that, and I'm not very flamboyant like that, you know. I'm just a regular person walking down the street. I like to go to work because I like my money, you know what I'm saying? And I just consider myself a human. You know, I don't want to be labeled with this and that, but When it comes down to it, I'm an African American lesbian. You know.
Well, we appreciate it, Rashida. Thank you so much for taking time out, dropping the science. We'll give you the elbow for that one, and good luck with everything. Peace.